I'm a simple man, ordinary even. No creative outbursts, no revelations or mystical insights, just the usual life most people live. Work in the morning, home in the evening. I had a job at a big trading company, not at the top, but not at the dusty bottom either. My position was procurement specialist. The salary was steady, coffee was free, and as long as you didn't annoy the bosses, they treated you kindly, meaning they didn't notice you at all. Life flowed like rainwater through a drain pipe, a steady trickle of human existence. Monday, meeting. Tuesday, Excel. Wednesday, running around. Friday, hooray, the weekend!
And then one day, just another ordinary, meaningless day, I stopped by a kiosk near the subway to buy a bottle of water. It was hot, the asphalt was melting underfoot, and the air felt thick like soup. I reached in my pocket for some change, and suddenly, the phone rang. Well, it rang, so what? But for some reason, that ring sounded different. Not like usual. It was as if the sound came not from the phone, but from somewhere inside my head. The screen was blank. No number, not even unknown caller. Just nothing. So I answered. And then a voice, calm, confident, said,
"Buy a lottery ticket."
No hello, no introduction, nothing. The voice was firm, masculine, the kind of tone a big boss might use, the kind that makes you obey without thinking. But there was also something else in it, a faint, knowing irony, as if whoever it was already knew things about me that even I didn't. I hesitated, asked, "Excuse me, who is this?" The voice calmly repeated,
"Doesn't matter. Buy the ticket."
And the line went dead. I stood there, phone in one hand, water bottle in the other, with that strange feeling, like the air just before a thunderstorm when you smell ozone. The woman at the kiosk, tired face, reading a newspaper, looked over her glasses and asked, "Well, young man, are you buying or not?" A small line had already formed behind me. I nodded automatically, and then noticed a stack of lottery tickets near the register. It was ridiculous, but my hand reached out on its own. I took one. It didn't even feel like my decision. It was as if something inside me whispered, "What's the harm?" A week later, the ticket won.
I won so much that I reread the message several times, clicked the screen again, checked the ticket number, looked up the official website, searched for a catch. Then I made some tea, came back, checked again. No mistake, the amount was real. Enough to live comfortably for a couple of years, maybe more. That evening, I sat by the window, looking at the city lights, and caught myself thinking something strange. What if it wasn't a coincidence? The voice did say, a woman passed through the courtyard below, carrying heavy shopping bags. I thought, she didn't buy a lottery ticket. After the win, I walked around for a while, as if in a fog. You know what it's like to suddenly become rich? Not a little better off than yesterday, but truly rich, when instead of debt collectors, the bank calls you, politely, by full name, with soft, almost friendly tones, as if you're an old friend of the board chairman. At work, I didn't tell anyone. I tried to act modest, ordinary, but something new had settled inside me. A sense of lightness, of entitlement, as if the world had finally acknowledged that I deserved more. And then, the phone rang again. I was ready this time. The sound came, as before, not only from the phone, but from inside my head.
"Buy Saturn stock,"
said the voice. This time, I didn't hesitate. You see, when something speaks to you from nowhere, and it makes you rich, surprise quickly becomes unnecessary. I bought the stock. A month later, the price doubled. After that, the voice started appearing more often. Its advice was simple, concise, and always correct.
"Drop that contract. Clause 8. Call Andy. He'll take care of it. Go to the CEO's reception area."
And I obeyed, and everything worked out. Clause 8 did turn out to be a trap that could have cost us a fortune. Andy, out of nowhere, suggested a supplier that was pure genius. And in the CEO's waiting room sat a man having coffee, my old classmate, now a top executive at a major firm. I won't say which. From then on, all their deals went through me. It was as if an invisible hand was leading me through a labyrinth of human intrigues, steering me past stupidity and traps. I became a man with a reputation, one who always knew where the market would turn, whose interest was hidden behind which rumor and which string to pull next. 6 months later, I had a new car. A year after that, my own office with a receptionist outside the door who looked like an angel, if angels had nails long enough to make a point.
And then the voice again, only this time not through the phone. I was standing in a supermarket choosing oranges when I heard it through the store speakers. It started like a normal announcement. Dear customers, discounts on juice. And then the same speaker continued in a tone I knew all too well.
And pick up the wallet.
I turned around. At my feet lay a woman's wallet, cheap, dark brown, worn at the corner. A short girl had dropped it. Gray coat, hair tied back, a tired face, the kind of face that doesn't expect anything new from the day. I picked it up and handed it to her. She blushed, thanked me, and somehow we started talking. A word, then another, as it sometimes happens in those rare, lucky coincidences. A month later, Wendy and I were going to the movies. I was taking her to restaurants. We went to Canada once, then the Rio. A year later, we got married. We lived quietly, without luxury, but with the sense that everything had found its place. And through it all, the voice was there.
But over time, the voice began to change. Or rather, not the voice itself, but the results of what it told me to do. The voice still sounded the same. Calm, confident, steady. No mockery, no menace. It was the world that seemed to stop agreeing with it.
Sell your yuan,
It said one day, flatly. I sold them. The next day, the rate shot up like a rocket.
Don't go to the meeting. Not yet.
It whispered through the phone speaker as I was getting into my car. I listened. Later, I found out that everything fell apart without me. The deal was lost. My boss was furious. I told myself it was coincidences, but the coincidences kept multiplying.
Sign it.
The voice instructed one day, and I signed. The next morning, head of security called me in. The manager was yelling, red in the face. "Stephen, did you even read what you approved?" I hadn't. I'd been listening. The voice still spoke with that same flawless certainty, as if following some higher, unseen logic. Only now, that logic no longer aligned with my life. I did everything as before, but the results had turned inside out. At first, I wasn't even angry. I thought, it's just a rough patch, it happens. Then I started noticing that things were going wrong outside of work, too.
One day, I went out to buy bread. The voice said, softly,
Take 2 loaves.
"Why not?" I took 2. At home, Wendy gave me a puzzled look. "Why 2? I already bought some this morning." A small thing, of course, but those small things began to pile up, sticky and uneasy. Like reality itself was slowly drifting away from the shore, leaving me stranded on the sand. The voice, though, remained perfectly even. One night I couldn't sleep. The neighbors had music playing, but instead of the chorus, I heard,
Everything's going as it should, Stephen.
I lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling for the first time, not gratitude, not fear, but a cold kind of confusion.
Where exactly was this as it should going? At work, mistakes started piling up. Colleagues gave me side glances, management turned suspiciously polite. Partners began losing documents, deals collapsed, accounts drained away. Wendy, always calm, grew irritable, as if there was a draft in the house that no one could see. Once, when I dropped a cup and it shattered, she said almost in a whisper, "You've changed." And I could feel it too. It was as if someone had been quietly rearranging the furniture of my life. Everything's still there, but impossible to move around anymore. Only the voice stayed the same. Now and then, it repeated,
Everything's fine, Stephen. Everything's going as it should.
I still hoped it was temporary, that the voice, like an old teacher, had decided to teach me a lesson. Maybe I'd gotten too proud, needed to cool down to remember who I was. I even tried talking back to it, not in my head, but out loud, the way you'd talk to a real person. "You're not making mistakes on purpose, are you?" I asked once, staring at the news anchor on TV. And for the first time, it answered directly, calm as always.
There are no mistakes, Stephen. Everything has meaning.
I exhaled, like after confession. Everything has meaning. That sounded almost comforting. So maybe all I had to do was wait for the meaning to reveal itself. I kept following the voice's advice with the same old devotion. When it said,
Call Carvin. Apologize.
I called. Carvin, my department head, didn't pick up. A day later, he was fired, and somehow all the suspicion landed on me. When the voice said,
Buy crypto. Profit's coming.
I bought. No profit came. When it said,
Ask your wife for forgiveness.
I did. Wendy looked at me for a long time, with something like pity, and said, For what, Steve? You haven't done anything. And in that anything, there was everything. The emptiness, the weariness, the end. I started noticing that I no longer lived by my own thoughts, or other people's, only by its whispers. The voice had become the single thread that still tied me to reality. And yet, the less it helped, the more I clung to it. One day, I decided to test it. A small experiment. The voice said,
Turn left.
I deliberately turned right. Within minutes, my stomach cramped, my coffee spilled, and someone smashed their car at the intersection. Coincidence? Maybe. But I felt like a puppet who dared to twitch against the hand that held its strings.
That night, the voice was silent. The silence in the apartment was unbearable. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, realizing that the only thing worse than its presence was its absence. After that, everything unraveled fast, as if someone had turned up the heat under the pot of my life. First, the company collapsed, quietly, matter-of-factly, like a curtain falling after the final act. I tried to save something, called partners, pleaded, but one by one they didn't pick up. And the few who did spoke vaguely, like talking to a leper. The voice never stopped.
Everything's fine, Stephen.
It kept saying, perfectly calm,
It's how it's supposed to be.
"What's supposed to be?" I shouted into the empty apartment. No answer. Only the refrigerator clicked, then fell silent, as if embarrassed. Then came the real haunting. My phone started acting strange. New contacts appeared, names I'd never seen. The overseer, curator, archive. Whenever I tried to delete them, they came back. At one point, I thought it was malware, but malware doesn't talk.
On TV, between the weather forecast and payday loan ads, I suddenly heard,
Stephen, tomorrow will be clear, in every sense.
I dropped the remote. The anchorwoman was still smiling, but her eyes were mine. The elevator in my building, old, creaky, seemed to come alive too. It used to announce dutifully, 5th floor. Now it said, in the same calm tone,
Caution, doors opening. Stephen, it's time to go.
After that, I stopped using it. I deleted every app, changed my SIM card, threw the phone away. A day later, the new one, still sealed in its box, powered on by itself and said during activation,
Hello, Stephen. Long time no see.
That's when I knew it was over.
The money was gone. Creditors were calling again. Not politely now, but curt, mean. My wife went to stay with her mom for a while. I knew a while could last forever. I started waking up to the voice whispering directly into my ear.
Don't be afraid. Everything's going as it should.
But now, it didn't sound like certainty. It sounded like mockery. And I knew that if I didn't leave, I'd lose my mind for good. I sold what I could, pulled the cash, and at dawn, like a thief, slipped out of the city. I drove for hours, maybe days. The smooth highways turned to cracked asphalt, then to gravel, then to rutted dirt roads. My own 2-lane path to nowhere. At some point, the navigator gave up. No signal. And it was beautiful. I don't know how long I drove. A day? 3? Time on the road melts like candle wax. When gas stations ended and the fields began, the kind of places where even crows don't bother to flap, I knew I'd arrived. By a quiet lake, I found a cabin, old and listing, with a crooked chimney and the smell of forgotten wood. Inside, everything I needed: a table, a bed, a stove, and silence. Thick, living silence. The kind where, if you listen long enough, you might hear grass growing. At first, I feared that silence. I kept waiting for a radio to speak, for a light to blink, but nothing. Then I got used to it. Days blurred. Water from the well, firewood, fish from the lake, stars above. The world became simple again. Bread and salt simple. Sometimes I caught myself listening to the wind, to the birds, to the far hum of a plane overhead, as if hoping to catch that familiar tone again. But the voice never came, not once. And for the first time in a long while, I thought, maybe that's the answer. So I lived. Weeks, maybe months, I lost count. Time folded in on itself. Then one evening, as the sun was sinking behind the trees, a man appeared on the road. An old man, small, almost storybook-like. His beard was white and neat, his face lined but kind. He looked like a monk who'd wandered out of a legend, only dressed in military boots, a field jacket, and a heavy tactical backpack, as if he carried his whole life in it. He walked slowly, nodded, asked for some water. Dropped his pack lightly like it weighed nothing. We sat by the lake and started talking. He looked at me with those pale eyes of his, and before I knew it, I was telling him everything. Not every detail, but enough. Enough for him to understand I'd had a voice once, and now it was gone. He listened, smiling faintly, as though he already knew the ending. When I fell silent, he said quietly, almost tenderly, "Well, Stephen, you've been repaid in full for your deeds." "For my deeds?" I asked. "What deeds?" He gave me that measuring look, not unkind, more like a teacher testing a student, and began reciting my own life back to me. "Remember the old woman you helped cross the street? Cold evening, everyone rushing by,
You stopped. I remember. And the boy in the supermarket, the one who couldn't afford the toy. You paid for him, even though your own wallet was almost empty. I nodded. I remembered. Damn kid's face, that desperate hope. And the trip to Arizona, to your sick aunt, knowing you'd missed the report deadline, that your boss would chew you out? That happened. I muttered. Well, the old man said, nodding, you're a good man, Stephen. Did everything right. Maybe even too right.
He said it without irony, but it hit like a slap, as if I'd just been awarded a medal for something I'd long since stopped believing in. I actually felt myself blush. Then the old man leaned forward a little, his voice softer now. Don't rush, my friend. There's more you remember. I froze. He kept speaking, calm, patient, like a teacher who knows the lesson is finally sinking in. Remember when you convinced your secretary to sleep with that treasury guy to move the deal along? I tried to object. Circumstances, pressure, it wasn't exactly. He lifted another finger. And the man you fired, the one who stood in the way of your new department, he was slowing everything down, I mumbled. Everything down, he echoed, thoughtful. That's a good phrase. Shall we go on? He stopped. The silence between us spread, heavy, living, unbearable. I felt my face burn. I wanted to defend myself, to say I wasn't a monster, that it wasn't malice, it was the system, the moment, survival. But the words stuck. They felt small, pitiful next to his stillness.
Finally, I whispered, "Who are you? By what right do you judge me?" He squinted slightly, maybe a smile, maybe boredom. "We don't judge," he said. "We observe." Then, turning toward the lake, "We've been running a small experiment, social, as they call it now. You, Stephen, were a part of the sample. Purely random, of course. Though really, what's random anymore?" Oh, how I wanted to hit that old man just once to feel his bones crack under my fist. But something told me, don't. He'd crush me like a bug and lay me out like a welcome mat. I wanted to howl instead, tear my shirt, do something human. But I don't own a sailor shirt and I don't know how to howl. So I just sat there staring at the ground like an idiot. My head was ringing, as if I had been locked inside a bell that someone kept striking. Only one question still clung to my lips. What now? What am I supposed to do? I looked up to ask it. The old man was gone. Only the lake remained, rippling softly, as if someone had skipped a flat stone across it, perfectly, from shore to shore.
I stood there alone. The lake breathed, the sky dimmed, and I realized it was over. Or maybe it had just begun. I went back to the cabin. On the table lay a notebook, an ink bottle, a fountain pen. The old kind, my great-grandfather used one like it. A candle was already burning. I sat down, dipped the pen, hesitated for a moment, and wrote the first line. I'm a simple man, you know. Ordinary, you could say.
But you know what's strange? I once had almost the same story happen to me. Not a voice, but an app that predicted stock trends. At first, everything went perfectly. Then, it was like someone flipped the world upside down. Since then, I don't trust anything that speaks too confidently.
If this is fiction, you've got a gift. If it's not, stop writing. Some stories aren't meant to go on.
Surprisedly Comments was the old man wearing combat boots, a symbol of the new age, really, an archetype in camouflage. Maybe the voice wasn't metaphysical at all, just another algorithm, a motivation experiment. Only, who's running it?
Surprisingly, comments like, "Everything's going as it should," that's the most terrifying phrase I've ever heard. There's no comfort in it, only inevitability.
Basically, he got a free subscription to Karma Plus. He just didn't read the terms of service.
The one who spoke to him wasn't good or evil. It was just an instrument. There's an old saying, the seer bears no guilt, but the vision demands a price. Feels like the experiment isn't over. It's just moved into the observation phase. You're reading this, aren't you, Stephen?
Maybe the voice wasn't AI or God. Maybe it was just his own greed, speaking in the tone he trusted most. We all hear something like that, only not everyone listens. And I scrawled the first line, best possible ending. The circle closes. But honestly, I wouldn't open that notebook.
Comment deleted by user 3 minutes after posting.
Funny thing, I just asked my phone, "Can you hear me?" And it replied, "Always." Seriously, what the hell?
Admin, this post has been marked as containing mystical elements. Remember, voices come in many forms. Not all of them are external.
I don't know who you are, author, but this isn't just a story. It feels like someone's watching how we're reading it. I got chills, especially at "we don't judge, we observe."
And when you went to Arizona to visit your sick aunt, that's where the ground really dropped out from under me. Goodness can't be measured by a counter. But here, they recalculated it. Inhuman and yet somehow logical.
Happened to me too. Not a voice, but a message on an airport display, addressed directly to me. At first it helped. Then everything fell apart. I thought someone was experimenting. Thanks. Now I won't be sleeping tonight.
Coincidence also has an author. That line stuck with me. I'm a neural network engineer, and sometimes looking at the results, I think the same thing. Who authors coincidence when we're the ones creating it?
The old man didn't disappear. He just switched subjects. And don't check your phone, Stepan. There'll be another call.
There's an old parable that God speaks to a man twice, first in a whisper to guide him, then in thunder to remind him who he's become. You, Stephen, just had a change of tone.
Either that old man is a conscience that went on leave and came back with a report, or we're all part of someone's sociological study. Either way, a like for the unease that won't let go.